How are you doing today? My name is Mr. Charles, and this is the Upbeat Academy online courses on Ableton Live. We have been discussing the DAW, the Digital Audio Workstation Ableton, and utilizing the means that we have in this program to create instrumentals. I would like everyone to be able to use the tools that are at their disposal to create the music that they hear in their head. And the best way for us to do that is to understand what the program can do for us. So today we're going to be using audio tracks to create a composition. Last time we made a simple 6-track loop, and today what I would like to do is to use only audio clips to create a little bit more of a complex instrumental. So we're going to discuss warping, we're going to discuss how to use the audio clips, we're going to discuss tempo, and of course some basic mixing. Let's begin. So when we open up Ableton, typically we have 2 audio tracks and 2 MIDI tracks. I deleted all of my tracks so that we can just start out with 1 audio track, because at the end of the day, when creating, we want everything to be as simple as possible when we're beginning and build complexity from there. So first, what I like to do is to decide the tempo of my track. When you open up Ableton, the default tempo is 120 beats. This is what is considered 4 on the floor house music tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if we put in a kick drum, right? 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right? So if we're making dance music, if we're making hip hop music, you can use that tempo as well, because hip hop is not a defined tempo range, right? Hip hop, you can use multiple different inspirational sources to create your own tempo. In mainstream radio-friendly hip-hop, currently what we like to do is to go between 130 beats per minute, 150 beats per minute, 160 beats per minute, and if you're from New Orleans, you may even go up to 180 beats per minute to 200 beats per minute for New Orleans bounce tempos. Right? So what I would like to do today is for us to stick around 135 beats per minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to only use loops to create a composition. And the reason that we're going to do this is because this is in my opinion, the easiest way to create an instrumental. And the reason being is these are sounds that have already been curated and mixed at times. And also, if you're a beginner and this is your first time using a program, getting something that you think sounds decent is extremely important in being able to build your confidence to venture out into different areas of production. We're going to discuss how to use drum racks and more complex beat making tools in our later lessons, but we're going to focus now strictly on using what is in front of us: our loops, our ears, and of course our understanding of what's going on in this program. So first things first, we've chosen this tempo. I chose 135, and I've decided that we're going to use only 4 channels today. We're going to create them by pressing Command T if you're on a Mac, or Control T if you're on a PC. Command T creates an audio track. Control T creates also an audio track if you're on PC. So I'm going to create 4 channels, and then I'm going to rename these into what I would like them to do. I want drums, Command R, Control R if you're on a PC. I want a melody. I want bass. And I want extra percussion. Okay. Okay. So, what type of track are we making? As I stated before, I'm thinking about mainstream pop radio hip hop music currently. I personally like to make things that get people to move or get them to react in some way. So if we're creating dance music or trap music or anything, you have to have an understanding of the different tempos. So mind you, right? We talked about 135, right? This is like a shuffle beat, right? So let's find a drum beat that has, it's more dance music. Let's find a drum beat that has it's interesting. This is at 135. It's got a nice bounce to it. Listen to that. That's interesting. Let's use something that doesn't have any melody, any bass elements in it. Let's just find a nice drum beat. I'm going to use this sample that I've gotten from Splice in this Oshi care package as the main percussive layer. Not quite this. Okay. This is my little background that I'm going to use. And we're going to put this into this. We're going to drag this. So let me show you slowly. Once we find something that we want to use, highlight it. Then we click it. And we're going to drag it into the track that we want to use it. And I'm putting this in that first row. This is the scene, that first scene. So that I can trigger everything at the same time by pressing this one. See this play button by the one? And we're going to build complexity. We're going to take things out as we go through. We're going to use 4 scenes to create a beat, right? So I have this one. And now what I want to do is I really want to, oh, shout out to Mang Fresh. I want to find another drum loop to go on top of this. I want a drum loop. So let's find something else that we can use as another drum loop. Oh, these are just hi-hats. Okay. So I'm going to go to my Upbeat Academy folder. And I'm going to see what other type of drum loops I have in here. Okay. Let's see. I don't really like these. I don't think they hit hard enough. So let's go into this Duck McFly and see if we find something. So my only issue with these is they already have bass in them. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find a loop that works for us. And we're going to move along. We're going to move along. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to get caught in the weeds. So let's try this out and see if this works for us. Okay, this has a nice, it mixes well together, in my personal opinion. Okay. We can probably shorten this to create a different type of pattern. So let's remember we talked about last time is we adjust, and this is the clip mode. So I want you to look at this. Check this out. If you go down here, we have these different views. We select our clip, and then we go to the bottom. I'm going to stretch this up here so you can see it a little bit better. Check this out. Click on the clip. Okay. So this view is our clip editing mode. And we have the ability to change the pitch, transpose it, adjust the start and end, adjust our loops, and do what is called warping. And we're going to have a particular lesson on warping, because warping is incredibly important to understanding how Ableton works and what differentiates Ableton from other DAWs. A little quick insight into warping is the ability for you to structure and to make sure that the tempo information in the clip is adjusted to whatever tempo information is in the main master tempo. So what I want this to do is I don't want this to have any swing at all. And what I mean by that is swing is where we put in a human error. We don't play perfectly like a robot. So we stretch stuff and we move stuff over so that it has a little bit more of what I like to call the head nod factor. Makes you move. I don't want this to do that. I want my drums to land on the ones, land on the threes, land on the twos, and land on the fours. Just for this particular type of instrumental. So what I'm doing is, if you notice these little yellow markers, these are called warp markers. This is what tells the clip that you should be placing things at certain times, and that if I adjust the tempo, it's going to stay on that grid. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay, so now what I can do is I can pitch this down. I'm going to pitch this down 1. So I'm going over here to transpose. I'm going to pitch this down 1 just to give it a little bit more body. And remember what I said, I don't necessarily like everything that's in this drum break, so I'm going to shorten it. Okay, so this is the first loop I'm going to use. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to press Option on my keyboard, highlight, and I'm going to drag it down and let go. And notice how that duplicated. The reason I did this is so that I can make different types of drum loops. So check this out now. Do the same thing here. Drag it down. So notice, you see how this chains now? So there's a little bit more body in it. All right, so now all I'm doing is I'm going to press Option on my keyboard, drag it down. I'm just creating different loops so that my drums have some differentiation in them. All right, so check this out now. And I'm pressing 1 here to launch the scene. So now we have some drums that we can use. I said 4, but I think we're going to stick with 3. Actually, no, we're going to use 4. We're going to make this so that the beginning of our track starts out without any drums in it. So I highlighted everything. Just when we get down 1 second. Okay, so we have our drums. Then we're going to have, now the fun part, we get to find a melody and a bass. So today we talked about creating something that would work for radio. The most important thing I would say in creating something that you enjoy is to think about influences that you have and trying to channel those. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going through my different melodies and see, this is if you notice the names of the melodies, they're named after artists that already have songs out. I like that. It has some bells, has a little bit of movement in it. So let's see how this sounds with our drums. Okay, great. So check this out. What I'm doing right here is I'm soloing the tracks so I can hear it by itself. And remember what I said about that tempo information where we can warp it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to left click. And look at this. It brings up this big menu telling you all these different things that you can do. See how it says insert warp marker, insert transient. What we're going to do is I'm actually going to warp this to the bars. So I'm going to change the fixed grid to 1 bar. I'm going to choose one of the bars. Just clicking the line. Press Command or Control A. Then I want this to be quantized, meaning that I want it to warp to everything. So I'm going to press the quantize button, Command U or Control U. You see how it dropped the little yellow lines in? So that last one was not right. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this last one. Delete. I just want to make sure that it fits in. Okay. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I don't want this to be the same as the loop. So I'm going to change the pitch. And a rule of thumb is the higher it is, the lighter it is. And the lower it is in pitch, the darker it is. So check this out now. So now what I'm going to do is, remember I said if you select it, hold down Option, and drag it down, you're going to be able to duplicate it. I'm going to make another one that's a different pitch, so -6. Going this back to the top. So check this out now. Or what I can do is, the rule of thumb in pitching is -12 or up 12 is a change of an octave. So if I stay with the regular one and then go down 12, check this out. Let's put this back at the regular. That's 0. And then change this one to -12. This is a very popular trick. So if you have a loop, it gives the loop some differentiation. So now we have our melody, right? And I'm going to put one up here by itself. It's a very simple beat, right? So now we have to put in a bass. And what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna call this the cheating way, right? We don't necessarily always have a bass line 808 drum loop. So let's try to find just a single 808 hit. And a single 808 hit, let's select these tracks, solo them, and now let's listen to the. That works actually. Just straight up. So my rule of thumb is if you're using a single 808 and you don't have a bass line, is for you to make it, 2 to 4 bars. So that it just comes around once. Right? So now let's listen to this with the drums. Okay, so far so good, right? This is not a very complex beat. This is just something that's an idea. We're gonna come back to this in the next lesson, and we're gonna get really funky with it. Okay, so this is really dope. So we have our melodies, we have our drums. So let's go back through. We have our drums. Right? And we chop the drums up by just changing the loop areas. Right? And now we got a melody. We work the melody. And this is the reason we do this is because we can change our tempo. So check this out. The tempo is going to change, but the pitch isn't going to change. And notice how none of the markers are moving. If we unwarp it, it's going to move based on the tempo. So let's put this at 90 now. So check this out. Check how slow this is. It's still at the same BPM that we assigned it to based on the warping. So let's put it back at 135. And then we grab the sync, we change the pitch down -12. That's an octave. So this is the same key as this. These are the same key. But notice how they have different vibes. Then we grabbed an 808. I just typed in 808. An 808 is a synthesized bass created with MIDI. So check that out, right? I didn't change any pitch, but when I brought this in, it originally was looped for 8 bars, for 8 measures, right? So I shortened it to 2 measures. See? Remember? So what we want to do, if your grid doesn't show up like this, is we fix the grid. I put on 2 bars, and we only want 2 bars. Good. And we're not doing a complex bass line because when we're creating something, we just want something that just has a bass, drums, and a melody that just sounds good together. Finally, we're going to use these scenes that we talked about here to record a basic arrangement. So finally, to record, we're going to press record here, and it's going to record over here. So press record and make sure that everything's turned off loop-wise. This right here is the loop button. Turn everything off loop-wise. And let's record in our scenes. So, and we're just going to progress through it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and all right, and now we're gonna end the beat. Okay. So press stop. So I'm pressing tab on my keyboard to go to this arrangement view, and this is what we recorded in. See? Press this button here to hear what we made. And there we have it, our simple loop that we created. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Mr. Charles. This has been the Upbeat Academy online lessons. So join us again on Friday. Check out our lesson that we put out on Monday if you did not check it out already. And stay upbeat.